Magic with Rockout and my boy.
I'm Big Green.
This is episode 4. We're going to be talking a little bit about GP Providence coming up, or excuse me, Grand Prix Providence, as some of you know. We live in New England, so we're definitely going to be going there, slinging some spells.
One of the shittiest states for weather, I might add, too, at this current month.
Considering it's been raining all day, let's get right into it. Guy from Hawaii, or excuse me, Hawaii over the weekend. What happened in Hawaii?
Pro Tour, and they showed up with Control. We knew Control would see some play, just we had some rough ideas of Control, and the Control Master, as you can see on the screen, literally Control Master is what they titled him as, and it goes without saying, he is. I mean, nobody's done more with Control than this guy right here. So, congratulations to Shota. He did a great job. Tore apart Ramao in the finals. Oh my God, that was an absolute dominance. I think Painful Truths is what made that matchup really bad.
If you want to see how to play Control, watch the finals of Pro Tour Kaladesh. I kid you not. This guy was so far ahead in his plays, knew when to not waste his negates on things that didn't matter. I mean, it was really something to see. It was quite impressive. We went from originally red-white running the field, and I think both Big Green and I realized that Control was going to come out in a big way at the pre-T. Someone was going to build a Control deck that was going to, basically smash the format of vehicles. Basically hit the vehicles with hammers. Who knows? Smash vehicles.
Well, if you want to smash vehicles, I don't know, if you strike them with lightning, that's a pretty good. We don't have lightning bolt, but harness lightning. The play testing that I've done so far with these Control decks, harness lightning is absolute gas against Copter, that freaking fleet wheel cruiser, and it's funny too because listening to another podcast, one of the he's not really a known pro, but he plays on the Pro Tour. He went 8-8 this last Pro Tour. He thought vehicles was also garbage. He didn't think it was going to be a thing, and he absolutely didn't think vehicles was going to be a thing, a deck list coming out. And he goes, I was wrong. It sure was, especially since Smuggler's Copter was everywhere. But now Control is grabbing the reins, pulling it back a bit, and hopefully, I'm sick of Smuggler's Copter already. I know they're going to be there at the GP this weekend, but I mean, come on, it's when you got 32 copies in top 8, that's too much.
I've been testing mid-range decks, aggro decks, and not so much of the Control decks this past week, and I gotta say, anytime you can cast Smuggler's Copter on turn 2, I have yet to figure out how to lose casting Smuggler's Copter on turn 2.
Yeah.
Just puts you in a really good spot.
When you Joe went Thraben Inspector, Smuggler's Copter, DePaula, and the Fleet Wheel Cruiser, I was like, who is gonna win against that kind of play? I mean, it's not like that deck. It's not like that doesn't happen often. I mean, it obviously is a rarer occurrence than normal, but it's gonna happen a lot. And then side out one of the Fleet Wheel Cruisers, and you have 2 Smuggler's Copters, and you crew them both. It's still the same thing with DePaula. It's just like it's a smash in the air.
Mm-hmm.
But
just good. Okay, so we were definitely correct in our initial assessment of the format.
I was right.
Not so much red-white vehicles, but we were definitely right.
I was right.
What were you right about, Big Green? What were you right about?
Blue Gearhawk, Torrential Gearhawk, all in these Control lists. And you know what?
This card does a lot of work.
From the pre-order price to now, man, that price jacked up, way past the green Gearhawk. Who called it? This guy, right there. Blue Gearhawk, #1 in standard.
Okay, so Gearhawk started at $4.99 pre-sale. I think the last time I saw it, it was $40. It's not going to stay at that price, I hope.
But as much as I want to take credit for that one, picking one card is easy enough, especially when you just look at the abilities of the card. Now, building a whole deck list, yeah, this guy right here had a better idea of what was going on with that. Our last deck list,
exactly.
Well,
But close.
Our last deck list that we previewed was the Grixis control list, and he was damn close to that
You
list.
know what? Let's actually check it out.
Why he brings that up, I'll apologize for the last video. We had some sound in the background. Anybody who didn't watch it, I really can't blame you. You know, we'll keep from doing that in the future, hopefully, and bring more quality to our videos and everything we do going forward. It's a learning curve for us. We're still doing, you know, these brand new videos, so hopefully we do it right.
Okay, so I went more of a Planeswalkers route, but I was right in Thing in the Ice doing a lot of work, Galvanic Bombardment doing more work than I initially expected, Revolutionary Rebuff in a field full of 82 decks that were running Marvel, Aetherwork Marvels.
Yeah,
I can understand why they're not playing this card.
Yeah, I mean, well, Void Shatter for one blue more, it not only counters the spell, but it exiles it. And for some of this stuff, that's crucial because when you can exile their Glimmer Genius, exile their Gearhulk, you know, it's stuff that can't get back with Liliana, and you know, or flashback with the Torrential Gearhulk itself. So Void Shatter, I knew it was going to see a play in a control deck. I didn't know what capacity, but definitely found out this weekend, or past weekend.
I was really disappointed that his deck list didn't have Liliana in it main deck,
Well,
or at all.
well, the thing is,
No, it wasn't there at all.
no, the thing is, like, I could see siding out the Essence Distraction for one Liliana, but it really is not doing a lot in the format right now, besides, like, killing weak creatures like Selfless Spirit,
Mm-hmm.
but it just seems too slow, especially when it gets smashed by the Smuggler's Copter. And you can't target the Smuggler's Copter either. You can't even reduce the power of the Smuggler's Copter. So Liliana, I mean, you'll still see Liliana in the black-green Delirium decks, without a doubt. That card, absolute nuts in that deck. So the price, I don't think, will drop that much. But in control decks, just Planeswalkers are bad in control decks right now, just because there's too much aggro. It's too fast. You know.
Hopefully after this weekend, Green Black will say sayonara to any type of vehicle list in the format, and we can start going back and playing Planeswalkers in our control decks.
But see, that also segues into our next topic is, you know, what deck list do we expect to see in this upcoming GP? And now you had it the Pro Tour. Everybody's going to look at scrutinize the top 8 lists. That's the ones they're mainly going to concentrate on. But some will go further down. They'll look at those lesser known deck lists and be like, well, wait a minute. You know, yeah, it didn't do that great, but maybe I can change this a little bit. Maybe I can change it and suit the, you know, what I believe is going to be the heavily played deck in the GP. So if you're expecting a green Delirium deck, well, you're not going to play the pure control deck because it just loses to it badly because of Distended Mindbender. But the black-green aggro control is still good against because, yeah, you have a harder time killing their threats, but it still is with, especially the Jeskai control, it's really easy to deal with some of these.
Can I just say, if you're going to play green-black, black-green, what have you, play 2 to 3 copies of Distended Mindbender. I've been playing blue-white Flash all week, and I can't tell you how many times I've gotten wrecked by that on turn 4, 5, doesn't matter. Turn 4, 5, and 6.
Oh yeah, speaking about deck lists, go to the blue-white Flash.
So, guess what I'm going to be playing this weekend, guys?
Well, even before you get to that, right?
So,
not
in a
the
row.
Not the mid-range, the Flash deck. One more.
Sorry. Right in a row, if you look at these, each one of these decks was 9-1 in Standard at the Pro Tour. Each one of them with blue-white Flash, slightly different, but for the most part, 9-1, 4 decks very similar.
Okay,
So
so
blue-white Flash, blue-white mid-range, and blue-white mid-range. So blue-white mid-range really is blue-white Flash in a roundabout way.
but one of the deck lists that I thought was going to see play, blue-white Flash creatures.
This deck is very, very good. I've been testing it all week.
And yeah, I was wrong.
Surprisingly resilient.
I was wrong about Nibelgas Herald. Obviously, Smuggler's Copter just infinitely better than that. And I didn't have Selfless Spirits in the list because I didn't think it fit like the flash criteria, but seeing what this deck can do, I believe you're going to see quite a few of these in the GP.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think, especially because you have Gideon, Smugglers. I mean, you got these threats that are hard to deal with on a control deck level to begin with, and for Gideon, it's just so hard for a control deck to deal with. I mean, it's such a powerful planeswalker for the mana costs, aggressively costed. Plus, you have all the backup of Rattleschain, Selfless Spirit, Spellcaller going behind it to protect them.
This
So,
this deck does a lot of things well. It curves really well. It can play aggressive. It can kind of sort of play the long game with throwing out dudes with Gideons and playing the Westfield Abbey late game. It just has a lot of just has so many things, so many dimensions that you can attack your opponent on. And I always felt like if you're going to a GP and you can slightly tilt your opponent into thinking one way and you can kind of go another, as I hit the microphone, then I think you're at a better position. And this is the deck I'm going to be playing this weekend, almost card for card. I changed up the sideboard a little bit. But for the most part, this is the deck I'm going to be playing. I just think it does everything well.
well, that also comes to one of our points that we'll get to a little bit later. But in our play testing, the past 2 weeks basically, we had some deck lists that we were testing out beforehand. Then the Pro Tour happened. Now we had a whole new set of deck lists to go against. So now you're trying to brew and come up with a deck that you think is going to be good against the majority of these decks. You're going to see Grixis control. You're going to see Jeskai control, without a doubt. People will just copy the list, slap it on there, and say, "Here's my 75. This is what I'm playing." Maybe because they just have the cards for it. One of the barriers to entry for me, I actually only own one Gideon, which is a barrier to entry for for a couple of these decks. So it may not be that they're playing the deck that they think is the best, but it's the deck they have the cards for the weekend. Uh, it, it depends on where am I trying to go with this? Help me out.
I have an idea. And at least for me, I'm going from Pro Tour. A week later, I'm going to a GP. So there's a small amount of testing. I really only tested 3 days this week. Tonight's going to be number 4. You got to go in playing something you're comfortable with, something that you know a little bit. It's hard. Nobody that's going to be watching this is Shota, who changes his deck the night before and goes and wins a Pro Tour. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe it does to most people, but not for me, unfortunately.
Okay, because we're relatively we're not even semi-serious, Magic players when it comes to these type of events. We're hopeful Magic players when it comes to these type of events. We hope to day 2. We hope to have a good finishing record. So when you go, well, should have had the best list. Obviously, he won the Pro Tour with it. Yeah, but you got to remember, there's a reason they had the banner up, Control Master. He's been playing Control forever. He's one of the best in the world at it. I mean, if you had a top 3 of who can play Control, if he's not in it, who else are you picking? I mean, LSV.
Wafatapa.
Yeah,
would have to be top 3 easily.
Yeah, all right. LSV, Tapa.
Even PVDR.
Who?
Paula.
Oh, Paulo. Yeah, Paulo.
Vitor.
Yeah.
Rosa.
There we
a
go.
whole bunch of names.
I apologize to anybody. I got no sleep last night. Anyway, so yeah, this guy has been fashioned as a control master. So if you think you can just pick up this deck list, do a little bit of testing, and go, I'm going to win the GP, you better think again. You better damn sure make sure you test this deck. I mean, test it again, over and over and over again. That's what I've been doing for the past week solid, ever since the Pro Tour ended. And I watched the coverage. I built Grixis Control, and I played it, and it was, I loved it against the Jeskai Control. Not so much against the other aggro decks. Forget Black Green Delirium. It just shreds you. The Jeskai Control, I put it together also. Yes, I am still missing a couple of Gideons, but I'm making a couple of substitutions. Not the best in the world. I'll see if I can pick up the cards, before the tournament. Hopefully, I can do it with trades with people. But I'm still leaning towards, here it is the night before the the
Now you're
Grand
gonna
Prix.
spike a GP.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think I'm changing my idea of what I'm playing, but if I go home tonight and I just don't like the way the deck looks, or I'm deck testing tonight and just don't like the way it looks, I'm like, I'll just blow the money. I'll blow the money on Smuggler's Captors, I'll blow the money on Gideon's, and I'll throw the deck together, play that. And because when you register for one of these things, especially now that these GPs, this is one thing that's sticking in my craw more than anything. It's $70 to go to a GP. Now, to liken it back to poker before poker hit its big boom, I was going to tournaments at, we'll say a casino so I don't rep them, $20 tournaments on Saturday mornings. It was great value. You got points, you got this. You played all day as long as you didn't bust out right away. It was great for $20. You couldn't beat that. Then poker hit the big boom, jacked it up to 100, and they're still were selling out. Now the GP, it's like, well, if you're a casual Magic player, $70, you don't want to pay that if you don't have all the cards. You don't want. I mean, I want to play. I don't care. To me, it doesn't matter. I still want to play in the GP because I feel like I have a decent skill set. Whether it's right or not, we'll see. But it's a barrier to entry that's, I think, turning some people away. At last check, I think it was 580 people registered.
I think last count was 626.
626.
That
So
I saw
that did
earlier
update
today. So 626 pre-registered. If they pre-registered before the 1st of October, it was $60, which, to be honest, is $10 really going to sway a lot of people? I mean, for me, I got it for $60, and even I was a little disappointed in that. I have a full-time job. I make plenty of money, so I guess I just became a casual over the years, and maybe my mom will see this video someday and she'll be like, Mike, a casual at Magic? I don't know if that'll ever happen.
And what about the sleep-in special? You have to pay an extra $10 for a sleep-in special? Really? Why? Why? All you're doing is you have buys. They don't even need to do anything extra. They're not giving you anything extra. You're just paying an extra $10 so you can sleep an hour later. That's terrible.
But you can email your deck list beforehand. So you can pay $10 to email your deck list to them so that they do less work. So you're paying them to do less work.
I've done it before because I like my sleep.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I do not like waking up early, which is why I'm as tired as I am now, because I didn't want to sleep a whole bunch last night, so I get to sleep early tonight. And yeah, the sleep-in special is nice. I'm not gonna lie. I did it for it was the Grand Prix in Atlantic City when it was. I think it was the Seal. Oh, it was great. Oh, I showed up 2 hours later. I built my deck. I was like, wow, this is nice.
They write out your deck list for you, or not your deck list, your
Yeah,
card pool for you.
They
which is
registered the
great.
card pool. Yeah, and all I had to do was build it, and it was a great card pool too. I didn't end up day twoing, which upset me, but it was I definitely misplayed a couple of times, and I'm kicking myself for it. But it was sealed. Not much you can do aside from playing sealed events, playing limited events. So there's no very limited way to test for that. So.
Okay, so let's go through what decks we think we're going to see this weekend. I think we sort of touched on a lot of them already. If you haven't tested against red-white vehicles or this Mardu vehicle that's up right now, please do. They're a lot better than you think they are.
I think Mardu vehicles is significantly worse than the red-white version. I could be wrong, but I don't think the black is adding a whole different degree of variability to the deck. I think it actually makes your mana base worse too.
It makes your mana base worse, but it gives you better removal and unlicensed disintegration, which may be good, may be bad.
Is that really worth it?
It's really good against the green-black list. Green-black Delirium, you're going to need hard removal a lot of times. You can't just... It's a lot harder to go wider on a deck that's going to be casting Gnarlwood Dryads, Grim Flayers.
But here's the thing.
Here's stuff.
Here's the thing about the vehicles is you can have those explosive draws. I'm not saying Fleet Wheel Cruiser in this deck list? Or?
No.
No.
That's in the regular vehicles list.
Yeah. So with the Mardu deck list, yeah, you're getting the Cultivator's Caravan. Sure, it's a nice little vehicle for what it does, but Fleet Wheel Cruiser closes out games fast.
Mm.
I mean fast. So why would you mess up your mana base just for Unlicensed Disintegration and a worse vehicle instead of just running the red-white? It doesn't make sense to me. But, I mean...
The thing is, a lot of things are single colors in those deck lists, so let's go back to the deck list real quick. Single colors all over the place. You only need black for Unlicensed Disintegration and Scrap Heap Scrounger flashback. No, not flashback, bring back from your graveyard. Other than that, you're not doing anything with black. So I think it's okay to splash even a little bit. You have Aether Hub as well, which is $1 million right now. And you have Cultivator's Caravan. So your mana base is actually a lot better than I initially thought.
Does it has 4 Spiral Bluff Canals?
Yeah.
That is atrocious. I actually haven't looked at this deck list. This is literally amazing to see this deck list.
You know what? Wait, why is it running blue red land?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
I'm changing my thought process on this.
A Ceremonious Projection
This
to
has
the
got to be a
sideboard.
mistake.
It's for Ceremonious Projection to the sideboard. That's the only reason.
Oh,
Literally the only reason.
wow.
But again, it's all these come to play tap lands if you have more than 3 lands in play. It slows down the deck so much. Maybe you gain a little bit of power from it, but is that worth it?
That's why your curve ends on 3. Actually,
Yeah.
your curve really ends on 2. Look at how many 2-drops and 1-drops.
I mean,
Jesus.
Maybe that makes
This
a
deck is
difference.
done by turn 3.
Maybe that makes a difference, but when I figure when you're looting with Smuggler's Copter anyway, you don't care about getting the extra lands because you're just going to pitch them away. I just don't like Mardu vehicles. I could be wrong, but I don't like it. Maybe the Cultivator's Caravan is better to get around control decks with the creature kill, but
I definitely think you're going to see a lot of green-black Delirium this weekend if you do go.
And there was that card I was talking about.
Distended Mindbender, please God, play that card. It's better than Mind Rack Demon. 100% better.
Yeah.
They both cast for the same amount of mana most of the time.
Which is funny because we're both Mike. We have another Mike friend who was playing this Black Green Delirium, and I was playing the Grixis control version.
Mm-hmm.
He landed Distended Mindbender on turn 4 so many games, and there's nothing you can do. Literally nothing you can do because it's a cast trigger, and he just rakes your hand completely, and you're just like, wow, yeah, you're behind because he takes the best cards. Now you have to deal with a 5/5, and you're -2 cards. You're like, what the hell am I supposed to do? So yeah, this is the deck. If I'm going to play Jeskai Control, this is the deck I want to see the least, and that's why if I think this is going to be the big deck going into the weekend, I might audible at the last minute.
Audible to what?
See,
what beats this deck? I don't think anything actually beats this deck. You have to go. I don't think you can go over this deck list. You have to go under it.
Well, see,
that means vehicles.
Because this is where the Grixis control is a little bit better because you have more main deck answers to dealing with his threats. Not so much with the Jeskai because it's more reactive to what he's doing, and that's why Jeskai he absolutely shredded me because I was just reactive. You got to be proactive against this style of deck.
So Grixis has probably one of the best removal spells in the format in Unlicensed Disintegration.
Yeah, I remember
Transcripts for Minds and Thing in the Ice.
Like when I built the original Grixis control list to test it out, you had Murder, I instantly threw Unlicensed Disintegration because it comboed with Torrential Gearhulk so well. I'm just like, nah, you're talking double black compared to black red, and the mana base is so easy. So it was one of the cards I instantly took out Murder and put this in.
Yeah, you can combo with your Torrential Gearhulks. I don't think. Well, when you have manlands, which are not artifacts, unfortunately.
Yeah, but who cares? Torrential Gearhulk's an artifact. That's all you need to know. And you're not looking for the damage. Yeah, you're not looking for the damage. I mean, if it happens, it happens. You're happy for it. If not, you don't care.
Do we want to touch on any of these other deck lists? Because I think this Aetherworks Marvel deck, which was 83 of the people that went to the PT out of 446 were playing Aethermark. So one of them had to make it the top 8, right?
So this is the type of deck. This is why I want to play control, because this deck can absolutely not win against control unless by some miracle they slam an early. What is the do they have the creature in that deck in this deck or no? No, they don't. If you have the oh, why can't the 2-mana ramp creature that gives you energy? Why can't I think of the name of it?
1 to green.
Yeah.
Gives you 2 energy.
Jesus.
Oh, that taps for mana?
Yeah.
Oh, God, wow. I just blanked.
Anyway.
And on another note,
the guy
don't play this list
yeah.
because there's going to be a lot of spell callers this weekend. I can guarantee you that.
Well, also the blue-white flash.
There's going to be a lot of blue this weekend.
Yeah. The blue-white flash, I think, will be a good deck list unless they have a lot of main deck Distended Mindbenders. The only thing that makes Distended Mindbender bad in the Black Green Delirium is when you get multiples in your hand and no way to cast them.
Agreed.
But in the testing, he actually waited till turn 8 to cast his Distended Mindbender. And even though I played out a Torrential Gearhulk to counter it, he still decimated my hand. Even though I had tons of draw spells, he decimated my hand because I had a bunch of creature kill, and that's what he left me with. And then he slams another Distended Mindbender next turn, so he could actually wait that entire time because I'm not pressuring him. I'm like, oh Jesus, man, it's like, what are you supposed to do?
Awesome. So what else? Don't play blue-red spells, please God. Don't do it. You're gonna end up drawing.
Well, now this is the deck that
awful.
I was thinking about for the Jeskai control. I'm like, well, what can make the Jeskai control better in a mirror match or control matchup? And Dynavolt Tower was one of my options. I actually am pondering whether I should use Dynavolt Tower or Fevered Visions, because it's a one-way damage Howling Mine. And in control matchups, yeah, they are drawing extra cards, but so are you, and they're taking damage for it. They cannot get rid of it, especially if you're playing against Grixis. They have no answer to it, and you just shred them turn after turn with 2 damage. And if you have anything else to pressure Delay Soul, it makes it even better. They're not playing enough spells to get their hand lower than 4.
And once it hits the field, they have no answer to it.
Exactly.
Are they going to board and fragmentize against you, or maybe?
Well, I'm talking about Grixis control. The Jeskai control, that fragmentize, it's on the cusp. It's almost ready to be sideboarded because of decks like the Dynavolt Tower, the Temur Aetherworks. But the problem with the Temur Aetherworks is they get that activation before you get to use it.
Agreed.
If you're gonna use some kind of like multi-use artifact and enchantment destruction, see if there's an instant that fits that bill. I'm not sure. I haven't looked through the list myself. I don't think there is.
An instant that gives you this stuff.
No, well, an instant that can destroy an artifact or enchantment. I don't think there's.
It's 2 and a green. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Gain 2 life.
Yeah, but that's green. I'm talking about for control decks, though.
No.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would have saw it already.
I mean, Naturalize, I think, is still in Shadows, isn't it?
I don't believe so.
No. All right, so I'm wrong on that one then. But yeah, the Appetite for Destruction, I think it is, or whatever. Or is that a Guns N' Roses song?
Wait, both.
Or no, that's an album. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's in there for white. Definitely nothing for Grixis. So if they play that against your Grixis deck, unless you have some amazing hand that you can just absolutely throw up on the table, there's no way you're going to win. You start drawing land after land, you can't play them fast enough. You're just going to die to that card.
So we're going to switch gears a little bit. We talked about the deck list that we're going to see this weekend. Talked about the deck list that we're going to be playing this weekend. And now finance tips from your boy Big Green.
All right, so I've come to you in the past with finance tips for foils for EDH, things of that nature. I can't remember if I did it last week, but I'll bring up 2 finance tips. One, foil Panharmonicon. If I said it last week, I'm sorry, but I'll bring it up again. Foil Panharmonicon, wait a while because Saffron Olive just jacked the price single-handedly of this card with his videos. I would wait until they come back down, but this card in any kind of enter the battlefield effect EDH deck, you're gonna need a foil of it, and after it rotates out, just get them, stash them away, and don't pay a lot for them. Just don't pay. I don't know what they're at right now. I think they're at 10. I paid a dirt cheap price. I won't say. If you can get them for like maybe $3, $4, I would do it. Or if you have to add a little in on a trade or whatever. But full Panharmonicon for DH. Now, for standard, our big card that we talked about in one of our
Still sitting.
first videos.
No.
First videos. Chandra.
It's in my binder.
Chandra, all the way from 50 down. As of last I knew, on TCG Player, they were going for $18 to $19 each. This card, I don't know how much further it's going to fall. If it falls a couple of dollars further, you're really not going to be that upset if you buy it at 18 and it goes to 15. And also, support your local store first. If I understand that cards are cheaper on TCG Player, but the thing to remember, your local store, you cannot play cards at TCG Player. They do not have a physical location for you to play cards at. So support your local store first, okay? If you want to buy excess copies above what your store has, then that's when I would go to TCG Player. Get them cheap. I don't think they're going much further down. Maybe they'll hit 15 if it gets really bad, but as soon as somebody finds a deck for that thing, it's jacking right back up to 40, and you're going to wish you had picked them up.
I'm not sure how I feel about the card. I knew it was going to stay at 50. I have one, which I wish I sold when it was 50. I kind of missed the boat. I always hang on to cards. I always hoard cards. What is it going to do? I have a feeling it might hit $10 at one point, and then people will start buying them.
$10?
I think it'll hit $10.
Oof.
It's a planeswalker that has literally seen no play.
All right, so you're
Not
saying,
even in a sideboard, I don't think.
You're saying I just overpaid by $8 each.
Yes, but I think once it hits that $10 threshold, I think people will start buying them, and I think you'll get your value back at 18.
Well, see, this is the wonderful thing about video. Now we have it cemented in history.
I'm okay with that. I like my odds. Last week we talked about, I think it was bad things that we purchased.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I said Thing in the Ice. Man, Thing in the Ice has done work this past Pro Tour weekend, and I regained some of that lost value, so I'm flying high right now.
Oh, yeah, it jacked back
Flying
up.
high.
Yeah, it jacked back up.
That's right. You can't go wrong if you listen to this guy, apparently.
That-
Grixis Control, Thing in the Ice.
Where were you on
Torrential Gear
Yeah,
Hulk.
where were you on Torrential Gear Hulk?
I didn't buy the Torrential Gear Hulk, so I didn't lose money. I didn't win money. I knew that card was going to be good. I just kind of brain farted and decided not to buy them.
And see, I was telling everybody straight from the start that I thought Torrential Gear Hulk was #1. Even my person that I'm doing these videos with, who's sitting right next to me, didn't believe me. And he's not paying for it right now because he's not playing a deck with the Gear Hulk. But when he does, he's gonna be like, damn, I should have listened to Big Green. I should have bought him. Why didn't?
Oh, I am kicking myself a little bit because I could have made $30 easily on each one. Like, easily.
But I mean, they're coming back down now. So if you didn't buy them when you had the chance, wait, because everybody who is opening them, because there's still going to be more drafts, sealed events, more going to be hitting the market. Just like Alpha Investments talk about, it's supply and demand. Simple economics. The more demand supply there is, the pushes the price down because you don't have the demand to fit it. When there's excess demand, like everybody saw Torrential Gear Hulk and went on a nuts spending spree. They jacked up to $30. I think they're back down to $20 on TCG Player actually.
I think a $20 Mythic is perfectly fine in Standard.
Oh, yeah.
Anything above that, what's the point of buying it?
Well, that's why I said Chandra, because it's below the $20 price point. It's
That's
a
fair.
Mythic. It's a Mythic Planeswalker.
That's fair.
So is Gideon. I mean, granted, Gideon does a whole lot more work than Chandra, but you get the point.
Yes.
So are we now? Are we going into story time? right now, or is there something else
Yes,
you
I
want?
believe story time it's about right.
Okay, all right.
It's a good time for story time.
So this week on Storytime, we decided to forego our normal little crap stories of, well, bad food, bad purchases, bad cards, bad everything. So since the GP is tomorrow, we have limited experience playing in some of these GPs. My own personal experience, I've gone through the gambit of doing everything wrong for a GP and paid for it. Several of our friends have done horrific at GPs because they did not follow the list that we're about to put out for you. So if stay tuned, this is the list of tips so you will have a better Grand Prix experience. And you can use these for any big tournament, obviously, but I say specifically for Grand Prix. You want to take the first one?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the first one. He hit it right on the head. Big tournaments. When you're going to a big tournament, the biggest thing, and what our number one is, I think we both agreed on this. He mentioned to me, "What do you think? What do you think we should do? Get sleep beforehand. You cannot function without proper sleep. It's just get a good night's sleep. Try to go to bed early. I know testing. You wanna drive. You wanna drive 18 hours to go to a Grand Prix. I mean, I've done it. I've gone to Columbus. I've gone to Ohio. I've gone to Florida. I've driven. I've been there. I've done that. Just please, God, get some sleep. You're gonna play so much better. You're gonna be sharper. Hopefully sharper than your opponent because they didn't get sleep. You just anything that you can do, any little thing that you can do to get an edge on your opponent, and I think sleep is by far the top.
Now, my take on this is when you're hard driving to GPs, it's not so bad when you can take turns, like you have somebody driving, people sleep on the way there. That's fine. But we all have that carload of people, and depending on the size of your car, you try to cram that extra person in there so sleeping becomes a little less desirable because you're leaning against people.
And you're trying to save money.
But then you have the Antichrist in the car, the guy who will just make your 18 hours seem like 36. He will not shut up. Everything that's wrong. This car smells. There's something. There's something in the road. Slow down. Everything he can think of to make your driving experience absolute hell. So get sleep, especially if you're spending money. Like we live relatively close to this GP. That's why we're going to it. We don't travel for GPs. We just don't have the time,
Not as much anymore,
the
unfortunately.
resources, and we're commuting to this, so we don't have the price of a hotel room. So when you have the price of the GP, the price of a hotel room, the price of the cards you have to buy, why piss that away when you stay up till all hours of the night because your friends want to party, and then you go to GP with like 2 hours of sleep? You're sitting there half dead, and if you're trying to play a control deck,
And you're going to play 9 rounds at least.
Yeah.
Every GP is going to be at least 9 rounds.
unless you 0-4 drop, I mean that's
Well, then all that money.
Yeah, you piss away all that value just because you don't want to get sleep, or not that you don't want to get sleep, you don't get sleep. So that's our main number one topic that we say: get rest, be sharp, and this way you have your full faculties about you. All right, so now.
This is one of my favorites.
I wrote this list, and Rockout definitely agrees with me on a lot of these. So number 2, bring your own effing pen. Okay? There is nothing worse than when you're trying to mark your life total, you go to look for your pen, it's gone because the asshole next to you stole it so he could fill out his match slip because neither him nor his opponent had a damn pen to begin with. Okay. This comes to being prepared when you go to a GP, and we'll get to that further on in the list. But one of the main things that you cannot do in a Magic event is fill out a match slip without a pen. It is the essential thing that you need to fill out a match slip. Okay, I have a marker. Okay, it's passable, but you're not going to be using a marker to mark down your life total. We'll get to that. This is another topic that we're bringing up, but at least bring a half-functioning pen and throw it in your pocket, your bag, somewhere. I bring 2 pens, sometimes 3. Maybe that's a little excessive, but I like being prepared. But yeah, bring your own effing pen. Stop stealing them from people, okay? It's terrible, especially when somebody's going to mark the life total and you have limited time to begin with, and you're looking for their pen instead of playing their match because you freaking stole it.
Funny story, really quick.
Pissed me off.
Our shop owner, I'm testing on Monday night for this GP, okay? First time testing for this GP. I want to get as much testing as I can. The first time I sit down, I sit next to the shop owner. He grabs my pen and starts using it. I'm looking over, I'm like, where's my freaking pen? He gives it back to me. 5 minutes later, he signs his match slip and gets up and walks away, steals my pen. And I freak out. It's like, bring your own pen. All right, we beat that to death a little bit. So, number 3.
Not without merit, though.
Yes.
I mean, not
Definitely,
without
it's
merit.
very important. Bring your pen. Have a bag. Throw it in the bag. You'll never lose it. Get in the habit of grouping all your stuff together at the end of a match, including your pen.
And most of these come down to being prepared. This is an essential part of this list. Be prepared when you go to a big event, especially a GP. You don't want to be caught short.
GPs now are $70. I think sealeds are probably going to be $100 at some point. So just don't waste your money. Don't waste your time. The next is write your deck list the night before. I know there are those people out there, a la Shota, who won the PT this past weekend, the Pro Tour, who like to change their decks the night before. To be honest, if you're prepared, we just mentioned this about 1,000 times, if you write your deck list beforehand, you're going to sleep better. You're not going to be worried about anything. You can maybe catch another 5-10 minutes in the morning because you don't have to get there early. You don't have to write your deck list.
So when I was at the GP in Philly, I was rooming with a friend of mine, and some people like to share hotel rooms, and that's fine. But when you cram 6 people into a hotel room, it becomes counterproductive for what you're trying to do. I like my sleep. I didn't mind spending the extra money so I could have a quiet, sleeping spot to myself. And I grabbed the deck list from the event. And when I went back to the hotel room, we did some testing. We had several hotel rooms. We did some testing. I went back. I wrote on a piece of paper beforehand. I always had my deck list on a piece of paper. This way, going into it. Then I wrote it down on the after I scratched it out, and I'm like, well, maybe this sideboard card would be better for this weekend because I'm expecting a lot of this. So then I put it on the deck list. So if you write out the deck list the night before, you're like, well, what if I want to change something? Then change it the next morning. At least have that deck list there, so if you want to scratch something out, it's very, very easy. You just gotta rewrite the deck list if it's not too if it's too bad that they won't accept the deck list because it's too much scratched out. And this way you can just copy it down real fast. Nothing is worse than getting a game lost because you have a deck reg error. I've done it. It's terrible.
So many times.
I've done it once, and that's all I needed to never have a deck reg error again. And that would, it's just one of the experiences. You'll have it happen to you. Eventually, you'll learn from it, and you'll have it happen to you. Try to not have it happen though. When you get a game loss because of deck reg error, it's just awful.
Agreed. All right, on to number 4.
Oh, all right. So, all right. Now this, I brought this up because I am constantly running late to everything I ever go to. I'll be late to my own funeral, in case you're there. So give yourself time to get to the venue. We're commuting. It depends on traffic, road conditions, different things of that nature. I was going to, I want to say a SCG event with a friend, and it was pouring outside. I mean, absolutely pouring. So you could not go to speed limit on the highway. It was just sheets of rain. And I see this Mercedes Benz with its bumper sticking out of the woods, and nothing will derail your chances at a GP more than not getting there. So give yourself ample time to get to the event. I understand running late. I do it myself all the time. But if you have a hotel room, it's very, very easy. Just give yourself an extra, 5, 10 minutes, whatever, however fast you walk or run. If you're commuting, give yourself 20 extra minutes. This way, if you hit traffic, if whatever the case may be, you have a dead battery, flat tire, you'll have a little extra time and you can maybe do something about it so you won't get that round one game loss.
I like to give myself an extra hour. I like to get to the tournament center. I like to relax. I like to do other things like talk to my friends. And that's pretty much it. Give yourself time because he just mentioned it. There are a lot of things that go wrong. Okay, so number 5 is check your supplies. As I was just holding up, this is my magic bag. It has everything. It has food, it has drink, it has my cards, it has extra sideboard cards, it has pens. Pretty sure there's a pencil in there. It has a playmat, it has life counters, it has dice, it has multiple decks for multiple formats. Please don't steal my stuff. I think there are protein bars in there. There's a
Which
phone
nobody will eat
charger.
but you.
There's a phone charger. Just check your supplies. There's nothing worse than going to a tournament when you think you have like multiple bars in your bag and you don't, and you have to eat some terrible pizza at a GP and say how terrible it is every time you take a bite.
That was your own fault.
I was hungry. What can I
Oh,
say?
God.
I had to win. I had to win.
Oh, that was definitely your own fault. All right, so one thing that he didn't mention, he mentioned your life pad, your paper. Yeah, that's one thing. Bring your own effing pen, but also have a life pad. If you don't have a life pad, if you're gonna use dice, it's a bad idea. Somebody who has a life pad has authority over you. Write down every life exchange. I don't care if it's gain, gain 4 life and then you're gaining another 4 life from another effect. Write them down separately because that is your proof that the action actually happened. So that's one of the things. And also, you forgot one major thing. Bring extra sleeves. There's nothing worse
I don't
than
do that.
oh,
I don't
there's
do that.
come on. If especially if it's sleeves you have a ton of anyway, bring extra sleeves in case you rip one splits. It happens all the time.
I've literally never ripped a sleeve in a
Oh,
tournament. Ever. Not once have I ever ripped a sleeve.
I had
Ever.
I had it
Not
happening because an asshole shuffled my deck
once.
rough and he ripped my sleeve right in half.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, I was pissed. I was like, well, I instantly called the judge. I said, we need a time extension. I need to get this out of my box. I need to swap. It was such a pain in the ass. It's like when you shuffle people's decks, take care. These cards are worth money. You pay a lot between the cards, sleeves, everything. Just take a little bit of care. I mean, this asshole literally ripped. Like I'm sure one of the other sleeves was split too. I had to swap out in one of the later rounds, and I'm sure he did it. But
Okay, so number 6.
all right. This is my favorite because I love to eat. Bring snacks. Snacks. If you have the hotel room, I have a lot of venues don't like when you bring in outside food, but they really can't say anything when you have like crackers, protein bars, granola bars, a bottle of water, and they can't say anything about that stuff.
As long as it's on your bag. In your bag. Excuse me, not on your bag. In your bag.
Okay.
They won't check.
So I bring a mini cooler with me to the GPs. I want something cold to drink. It's right there. I don't have to go searching for a vendor. I don't have to stand in line for just a simple soda or a bottle of water and also pay $3 for. I mean, saves you a little bit of money. I mean, it's one of those little things that. But if you have a hotel room anyway, you have the fridge in there, or if you bring your own cooler, just have all this stuff in the hotel room, and this way you have all your snacks. Just something simple too, like a small bag of beef jerky if you like that. Crackers, Ritz crackers, just something to fill that void, especially if you're running round after round and you just don't have time to eat anything. Fill that void with small snacks so it keeps that grinding out of your stomach. It'll allow you to concentrate on the game a lot more.
I said it earlier, check your supplies, and then I also said snacks during that one, so that's 2 in a row. Just eat some food. I mean, honestly. It goes to the same thing with sleeping. You're just going to play better. You're going to play better, you're going to fuel your body right.
Yeah, no.
I would suggest not having a whole lot of sugar because you don't want to crash mid-tournament, but if you really need it, You know, there's nothing. I can't say no to like just eating a Twix bar all of
Yeah.
a sudden.
Kit
Alright.
Kat, Reese's. I mean, yeah, when you have low blood sugar, you're gonna play worse Magic. I guarantee you. I
Yeah,
mean,
you're just not
that,
going to think
yeah,
long terms.
and I'm not even talking about if you have some kind of health problems, diabetic or whatever. I'm talking just your plain everyday
Yep.
individual. When you have low blood sugar, you will not operate at full capacity. It is physically impossible.
So 7, we talked about it earlier. What have we been doing all week?
Play
Play
testing.
testing. So we mentioned GPs are $70. Star Cities I think are 50 plus. Just a standard tournament that I went to, I want to say a couple months ago was 30 plus, 35, 40 maybe. If you're not playtesting for these tournaments, well, why are you gonna throw your money away? Why not just all that money that you could be throwing away on these tournaments when you're not playtesting could be used to buy more torrential gearhulks when they're $4.99.
And that's the thing too. It's like, well, I want to run my jank deck. Well, that's fine. Run your jank deck, but test it against the decks in the format so you have an
Yep.
understanding of what to do against the decks. Just to be on, oh, I'm going to run my Panharmonicon deck because I like the way it works. Well, if you have no idea how the interactions go, so I had somebody deck test the Panharmonicon. Wasn't my choice. He just grabbed a random deck and we deck tested. Absolutely shredded him. He had no chance. No chance with this deck. He even had gotten a Panharmonicon into play on turn 3, I think. With Servant of the Conduit. That's the damn guy who Mana ran.
Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, now I remember it. But yeah, even with that in play, he still had no chance because my hand was just full of controls that he just couldn't deal with. So test against the decks, even if you want to run your jank deck. This way you have a better idea going into it what to expect. This way you can tune your sideboard a little bit better. Maybe it's good against aggro, not good against control. Side some control aspects in.
Yeah, that's a huge thing he just touched on is knowing how to sideboard is crucial, and that's how you learn through playtesting. You learn through playing your deck. You're gonna realize that you might have 8 dead cards against control. You gotta know through playtesting what comes out, what goes in, and what cards are actually good in the matchup. You can't just take one of these decks and be like, oh, I'm gonna board in Jace against the aggro deck because it bounces a dude. No, you actually have to test it. I mean, God, just don't be that guy. All right, number 8 on our list and our last one.
Well, not our last one because there's a couple I didn't write on this
Oh, okay.
list. I'm gonna use a small one before we get to the last one we have. Is especially when you're traveling from a distance and you're gonna be staying in a hotel room. I know it's cumbersome to bring a lot of items with you, but mostly everybody has a bag or some other way of transporting their cards to keep them on them. Bring a small box of common and uncommon staples that you don't want to buy the day of the GP because you just don't have them. Bring your Reflector Mages. Bring your Pulsar Mirages. Bring the cards that you have tons of, but you don't want to freaking buy. I mean, Ration Cleric, when people were going nuts looking for this card to go against the red decks, I'm like, I had 8 extra in my box. I got so much trade value out of a crap common. I can't remember what I picked up, but I picked up some good stuff for a crap common because the vendors didn't have them, or the vendors were charging an outrageous price, and I just traded them away. I got like $1 a piece in trade value for them. I was opening them; they were just sitting around my house. I'm just like, these things are worth $1? Only here, only at this exact moment. So make sure you bring those cards with you, because nothing's worse than having to pay $3 for Reflector Mage because you need it for the tournament and you have literally 12 at home. So,
That's value in my book right there, buying more cards.
oh god, not at inflated prices.
We've all done it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. These are just tips for a better GP experience, and that's one of them. Don't waste money on cards you already have. Another thing, talking about wasting the money. For people who like playing foil decks, there's nothing wrong with it as long as your deck is mostly foil, because then the rest of your cards will curve with the foils. It's when you have that one foil or 2 foils in your deck that the judge can cut right to and goes, you have a marked deck. you get a game loss. Now you have to replace the damn card to begin with, and it's a bad situation. So if you have a one-of foil card, just try to borrow it from a friend. Buy it if it's cheap enough. I understand some, like, if you have a foil planeswalker, you're like, well, it's the only one I have. Try to trade with a friend. Just be like, okay, let me borrow it for the weekend. Here, you have this one.
Your chair is like
Sorry.
rattling.
Sorry, I'm getting animated. So and I've had it happen. I was running because I like my foil lands that I have, and they said it was a marked deck. I'm like, really? And so ever since then, hearing people getting game losses, friends that have gotten game losses because of marked cards, foil cards, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm running my bare bones deck. I'll still run my nice lands that aren't foil and call it a day.
I have gotten I got a warning for running a Sensei's Divine Top foil that was from one of the commander sets, and as you guys probably know, it has a very strange foiling process to it. It makes it thicker than most other foils.
From the vaults?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was I'm sorry, from the vault, not
Yeah.
commander. And I was asked, basically the judge came up to me before the game even started, and he was like, what is going on with your deck? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you got to have a foil on there of some kind. So I was like, okay, I have a bunch of foils in here because I run foil lands, I have foil Emrakul's, I have foil Brainstorms, a couple other things. Yeah, I know. Don't give me that, chat. Don't give me that.
What was the chat saying? Back.
Does foil give you better value? Of course it does. It makes you stronger. It makes you play better.
It blinds your opponent.
So what was I going to say? He comes over, checks my deck, cuts right to it. My opponent cuts right to it. I'm like, okay. So I had to pull a Sensei's Divining Top out of my EDH deck to make it worth it. Thankfully, just the warning was enough, and I have since tried to put multiple foils if I'm going to put any in there. Actually, this weekend I'm going to be running foil Prairie Streams, foil Port Town, a couple other random foils like Rattle Chains because Shiragi doesn't know how to have all non-foils or all foils. So don't get your game loss. I mean, let's just go down the list really quick.
So wait, before you do, there's a certain psychological advantage to having an all foil deck, and I was playing in the GP in Philly, and I was playing a similar ramp style deck. The guy across from me had all foil Ulogs.
Oh god.
Yeah, I'm just like, are you serious? I'm like, come on, right? And so I'm like, I was blinded a little bit. We went to game 3. He ended up winning. He got some better draws than me. But the one that really sticks out in my mind when I was at a Legacy event and the guy was playing Miracles, he's playing beta dual lands, and I'm just like, holy hell, dude! Like this guy's deck is worth, I don't know, $12,000-$15,000, and that was at the time. I'm just like,
it's probably 30 now.
I'm like, and so I knew he was a control player. Knew he'd been playing forever because unless you have just substantial wealth, you're not buying these cards. And I'm just like, psychologically, it got right in here. Like
it happens to a lot of us.
I was playing, what was it, Sultai Delver against Miracles, which was, I don't know how good that matchup is against each other, but it went bad for me. That's all I'm gonna say.
So running down the list really quick, get some sleep, bring a pen, write your deck list the night before, save yourself some time, give yourself extra time. So give yourself extra time by writing your deck list the night before. Check your supplies, which means bring snacks, bring dice, bring paper to write on, bring your phone charger. I can't tell you how many times my phone has died in the middle of a tournament. And you got 4 more rounds to go, and each round is like half an hour in between. What are you going to be doing? You want to play on your phone, bring the phone charger. Play test, foil check your deck, and what was the one that wasn't written down that you were talking about?
Bring your ample commons and uncommons that you don't want to buy again. So if you want to swap,
some extra cards.
Yeah, if you want to swap this, bring basically everything you think you're going to swap out, or if you're going to audible a deck and you just want to run the other deck, bring the stuff that is you have readily available, multiple copies of, so you don't have to get more copies and pay an exuberant price for it on top of it.
That's a good point. I really like to keep a lot of different sideboard cards in my binder. especially for when I go to legacy tournaments. I know certain people that show up at small events that are going to be playing a specific deck that's better than, better against me. I might have to tweak some sideboard cards. If Elves is a big thing, I'll board in more Pyroclasms. If I know they're going to be playing control, I might board in like wipeaways. You just gotta be prepared. And it should be how to be prepared for a Magic tournament. That's what this should be called. But it's tips for a better GP from your boys. Rock out,
Big green.
big green. So I think that's pretty much it, guys.
So, a little side note, I brought a 200 card box to the GP with me last time, and everybody who needed to borrow cards, I had Reflector Mages, the 2/4 guy that flashed and gave a guy Hexproof. It was in the Collected Company deck. I had tons of these commons and uncommons, and everybody who needed to borrow them, I instantly had them. I mean, just right there on hand. So it's a beautiful thing to do.
Okay, guys. Wish us luck at the GP. If you're there, feel free to try and find us.
Oh yeah,
I'll be wearing a GLG shirt.
uh,
Leaf Games.
Gilt Games. We're gonna be testing there. Well, he'll be testing there tonight. I might stop in briefly just to see what's going on. Um, if you see us at the GP and you want to say hi, don't be afraid. Come up, say hi, and if I meet a stranger who I don't know and says I saw your video, I'll be shocked. I'll be genuinely shocked. I'm not gonna lie. I'll be amazed, and it would be great to hear anything you have to say about this.
Good or bad.
I
Good
would,
or bad.
I would love to hear from you. I mean, come say hi. I may not look like the most approachable person, especially after a loss or if I'm hungry, but judge it for how it's going at the moment. And come say hi after the round is over.
I've been playing Tournament Magic for a long time, and I have met some of my best friends through Tournament Magic, and I might say, did we just become BFFs if you watch my video? So feel free, come up, say hi, ask for a high five. I'll sign your shit if you really want me to. I mean, it's not going to be worth anything if I sign it, but who knows?
I'll do the fist pump. I'm not a big handshake type of guy. I'll do the fist pump.
I will give you a hug,
Oh,
and I will rub my beard on you if you really want me to.
Oh, Jesus.
And that is Brainstorming Magic, Grand Prix Providence Edition, boys, Episode 4.
All right. Hope we see you there this weekend.
You have yourself a good weekend.